Blue October and Fear. It's KCHW 102.7, 8:15. In the studio with us, the official welcome for Kevin Dorin. Kevin is a transplant from Canada. And Kevin, where are you living right now? Sandpoint, is that what you said?
Yeah, I live in Sagal, just outside of Sandpoint.
All right. And what brought you to America and changing citizenship or going through the process?
Well, first, my parents used to come down to Sandpoint for vacation when we were younger. And so they started coming a couple of years ago when British Columbia got a little too packed up in Canada. And so we fell in love with it, and I ruptured discs in my back wakeboarding on the lake, and I ended up meeting a guy, Peter Folletto, who's an amazing trainer there, and they helped me re-heal my back because I couldn't tour as a musician, and I lost my hearing in one side of my face. It was numb. It turns out it was all from imbalance in the body. And anyways, this guy helped me out, and I ended up meeting this beautiful young lady, Amelia, who became my wife just this summer. And so we've been in the immigration process, which actually is not that bad. It's really pretty pleasant. It's just that you can't work. So I'm really happy to be able to share my music with people again.
Excellent. And because we're not paying you today.
Oh, you guys aren't paying me?
No. No. Did you happen to bring any CDs today, though?
Oh, man, I laughed when you sent me that email. I actually haven't made CDs in years, but if you go online, I was in a band called Bigger Fish Than Guns in Canada, and we had some charting success, and we toured, so you can find our albums online. I believe there is some Kevin Dorin albums on iTunes as well.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, if you come back again, I'll burn some CDs of stuff that you've done and bring them with, because we've actually had people show up at the end of performances and buy CDs from performers, which is a great way to get gas money to get home.
That is
because you musicians,
cool.
Sometimes
awesome.
You need that gas money to get home. So, all right. So you're going through this immigration process now. Will you end up with dual citizenship when you're done, or how does that work?
That's actually a fascinating question. I checked that out a little while ago, and I guess the laws have changed since the last time my understanding of what a dual citizenship meant. Both Canada and the U.S. are sort of in flux, and I don't think they recognize completely dual citizenship. In certain world events or whatever, they would choose, if I became an American citizen, to only treat me as an American citizen and not as a Canadian citizen. So I got to figure that out, and whatever the politics are. But so far, I hope to intend to become an American citizen. But it depends who's in office and all that,
Especially if you want a job or something, huh?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All right, so you came to America a lot. You're familiar with it. Now that you're going to be an American citizen, I got to ask the question, what do you think of American politics?
Oh, man, it's the greatest show on earth. Absolutely. Our Canadian politics are always a couple of years behind. I think Canadians are maybe a bit righteous about politics because it's such an extravaganza down here. But we're following suit. Like, our last election was very similar. It was kind of the most intense publicly and
I'm sorry.
Ridiculous. Oh, no, it's that's the thing, is it's not your fault. It's not the people of America's fault that there's such an intense organization and money expenditure,
It's the circus of politics.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's what one of the reasons I've always loved America. I grew up in an American school in Den Haag, which is in Holland. And so I had all American friends, and I always wanted to be American, and my dad was supposed to move back to Seattle and get a job, but he moved back to Calgary. So it's kind of cool to be in the States and just be able to share the culture of the States. That's a blessing, I think.
All right. I can pick up a little bit of that Canadian accent here and there, which reminds me of home because, like I was doing North Dakota, it's almost the same as a Canadian accent,
similar.
Except we don't say A.
Yeah.
But
I catch my A's a little bit now, so you guys might not hear too many of them.
I spent 3 weeks in Canada traveling, and by the time I left, I was saying A. I don't know. It just after people keep saying it to you, I caught myself. I said it one day, and I was like, "Whoa, hey, I could be Canadian." All right. So fun. I want to talk about your music and the inspiration for it, but I want you to open up with a song for us.
Yeah, actually, this is a perfect song to segue with. I think this is a song I wrote for my wife after we got married, and it was a friend in Sandpoint who introduced me to the John Lee Hooker Boogie. And so I just combined the two at the time, learning something new and the experience that I had, and came up with this song.
All right. Kevin Dorin, ladies and gentlemen.
I ain't got every woman, my woman good to me. Every day, my woman coming home, you see. I said I love the way, oh, your lips that say, baby, I love the way. I ain't got every woman, my woman good to me. When she come home, I just lead her to a throne. Yeah, I couldn't handle 203. I ain't got every woman, 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 I got the one for me. Baby said love the way, oh, your lips that say, baby, I love the way. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Well, I don't want every woman, 'cause frankly they frighten me. Yeah, you could lock me in a room and they might talk me to my doom. Yeah, scare and man right out of me. I don't want every woman, 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 I want the one for me. Baby said I love the way, oh, your lips that say, baby, I love the way. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Hey, hey.
Yeah. Very, very nice.
Cool.
So when you were talking, I was thinking, man, he's got a great radio voice. You got an awesome singing voice, too. Holy
Thank
cow.
you very much.
Holy cow.
To me, it reminded me of the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I was like, that's totally that style, and I love it.
Go to sleep, a little baby.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, dude, this
You can actually
reminds me-
find that on YouTube. I sang that with my wife. It's the only thing she's ever sang and recorded with me.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Is she watching you online today?
If she's awake. Yeah.
All right. Very, very nice, Kevin. Tell us about how would you describe your musical style?
Well, I was in a band called Bigger Fish Than Guns in Canada, and we were sort of like an alternative blues. We got to open for AWOL Nation once, and we tagged behind the Black Keys on a lot of radio ads. So that was cool. And so from there, I moved down here, and my father-in-law is a phenomenal bluegrass Americana player. His name's Doug Bond, and he's legendary around here, and he's toured with some of the greats in bluegrass, the original greats. So I learned a lot from living in their guest house for a couple months, and just sort of actually mostly watching him, because he's so good that playing with him sometimes can be overwhelming because you just want to stop and listen. So that influenced a lot of my music, and now it's mostly Americana influenced. I also toured across Canada and made a documentary called What is Canadian Music, where I just hitchhiked for the very most part of it. And just met people and interviewed anybody I saw with a guitar. And a lot of my friends are touring festival musicians, so I interviewed them as well. And a lot of people who are in that documentary have elevated drastically in their career and gotten record deals and such. So that was great.
So
I
where
like
can
the
we-
road trip. I like the road trips that
Yeah.
musicians do, but hitchhiking and just meeting people. It reminds me.
Yeah.
We've got a trio now. They've all went their separate ways. But as three brothers they're called the Dunn Mountain Boys, and they came in and played here, and they all just. I think the youngest one graduated high school. They all jumped in a car and just took off and went across America, playing wherever they could play. And they had some gigs set up too. But that's a special kind of freedom.
I think it is. It's amazing.
Yeah. So where can we find that documentary?
It's on YouTube still, I believe. I made it on an iPhone 4, I think.
Oh, really?
The intent was it was supposed to be a little bit of avant-garde art in that way, where it was like, this is what musicians at the time were making music videos with, and these are the tools that you had access to. And so I sort of discuss a lot about, especially for Canadians, dealing with some of the issues, like we have national granting systems, and there's a lot of political banter about that between musicians groups, whether that's good or that's bad. And we discussed earlier Canadian content on radio and things like that. So I like coming down to the States and living in the States now, because it is a little more open to entertainment, although Canada's always growing that way. It's always a great opportunity to play down here.
And some people might not know about the content laws. Kind of explain that for how radio differs in Canada.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who go either or direction on opinion on this, but we've been mandated, I believe, since the 70s in Canada to play 35% Canadian content on radio. And I think the original intent was to maintain Canadian culture and promote Canadian culture within the government, within the country. But the result has been it's complicated for radios, terrestrial radios, to broadcast great new music all the time, because you're trying to slot things around this system, this organization that I believe is a little archaic. Because if you look at the world, some of the worst and the best musicians who are the biggest in the world came from Canada. I mean, you can look at the last couple of years, Drake or The Weeknd, which represent a huge popular market.
Sure.
And then you have Justin Bieber. Right? And Alanis
Which we tried to
Morissette
send
and
back to Canada.
Shania Twain and
Sure.
Celine Dion, and there's a challenge, I think, about being a Canadian musician that can, if you embrace it, make you a phenomenal musician, because you are always up against a little bit more than your competition when you come down to the States. Because it's a smaller country, you have to travel so far in order to tour. If you can tour across Canada, that's, I think, a benchmark of musicianship and tenacity.
All right. So why don't you roll out another tune for us, and then we'll visit some more. All right.
Sure. This one's called the Sunshine Song, and I also wrote this down in Idaho. It was intended to be a anti-anxiety pill in music. In music, a musical anti-anxiety pill.
All right.
Sun won't shine. Sun go down, got something on its mind. Sun go easy on me. Tomorrow, don't forget to shine. There are some things I want to share with you in the morning light. Well, somewhere in the atmosphere, on the other side of what is clear, oh, in the light of day, just think of my tomorrow. Don't forget to shine. There are some things I want to share with you in the morning light. Sun's gonna shine unless you promise to tell it, the story of the night and at the break of day. Bullshit, what we've been missing. You gotta promise to tell it all, the stories of who you've been kissing. sun's gonna shine. Sun come up, got something on its mind. Sun, go easy on them. Tomorrow, don't forget to shine. Sun, go easy on me. Tomorrow, don't forget to shine.
Holy smokes. Wow.
I like that. That was just beautiful.
Wow. And what a vibrato in your voice. And I was even watching your throat go while you were doing that.
Yeah,
very impressive.
It's a battle. Because some people love it and some people don't. So I try to find a balance.
Well, you found it. I'm very, very impressed and so glad you drove over and spent some time with us today. We do mini concerts all the time. And since you can't work, you should come over and play one of our...
I have a green card. That means I can work.
Oh, I thought you were saying you couldn't get a job yet.
I'm through that process.
Oh,
it's wonderful.
Good. Okay. we talk people into coming in and playing for tips, but we'll talk to you about that later. All right, so your music is awesome. You've come up with your own style. Now, do you write most of your own stuff? Do you do covers too?
I've written my own music pretty much since I was 14. I grew up as a drummer, and then I injured my back, and I had to quit playing drums, and so I started playing guitar, and I was in bands early on with one of my best friends who sang with like Justin Timberlake when he was young, and he's just a phenomenal talent. And then he ended up in musicals, national musicals in the States. And so I'd never thought I had to sing, but I was always writing. And eventually, just like life put it in front of me, and I took the challenge. And I ended up co-writing with 4 people in my band, Bigger Fish Than Guns, and that taught me a lot about music. And I've co-written with pretty much everybody I can meet that writes music, always just trying to try something new. And I ended up with this sound. This part in the Northwest United States has had a huge influence on it, though, honestly. And listening to the radio around here, getting exposed to a little more music than I would have just on Canadian radio.
All right. We really appreciated the comment you made. You came in while we were doing a break and saying, "Wow, that's funner than most of the stations I've been at." Has that? And I said, "Yeah, and we're public radio too, isn't it awesome?"
Yeah, that's not hyperbole either. That's honest. Yeah, you guys are having a lot of fun here, and I think that it creates an environment for a better performance. I produce music, and putting the musician in the right place, the right emotion, can really get you a better performance.
All right. Well, and for us, this is really unique, and I don't know how many of our local listeners realize that, but I spent 20 some years in corporate radio, and it's really gross.
Yeah.
Like most corporate stuff. So this is what I do. What I'm doing is every disc jockey's dream is to be able to start their own radio station. And something I would have never been able to afford to do, but then the community had a chance for this public radio license, and it's just been amazing, and it's free form, and I don't know how many people here actually enjoy what they're getting, and some people are like, well, I don't like the bluegrass on Wednesdays and stuff like that, but I can't think of there's no one in Spokane that would even play bluegrass music on the radio. I mean, it just doesn't happen, and we do a different genre every night, and hoping to give, it's programmed like a TV station if you look at our program guide, and we try to always have the same stuff at the same time every week so people kind of get a flow for that. And for me, I'm living the dream. I really am. This is just totally amazing for me and thrilling. So thanks for noticing it was fun and making a comment. So we appreciate it.
Hey, well, you guys are doing a great job. I appreciate it. Like you said, community radio is fun.
Yeah, it is.
It was me coming in and playing my guitar. What was it, 4 years ago?
Yeah, you're coming up on your fourth anniversary.
Yeah, and that was how I started here.
She came in to play and never left, so look out, Kevin.
Well, I'm only an hour and a half away.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm only 15 minutes away. But we have some online listeners. We have Ernie from Scotland right now.
All right.
Who has enjoyed it. And then JR from Maryland. I'm surprised that he has power still, despite the snowstorm. And he's saying it's a jolly good show. So
thanks, guys.
He really enjoyed
that.
it.
You say Scotland and Maryland?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
we're big time, baby. We're global.
Yeah.
So, Ernie, will you mail us a snowball?
No, it'd be Maryland.
Oh, Maryland.
So
Okay.
JR
Oh,
and
JR.
Maryland.
JR.
Yeah.
Okay, JR.
Yeah, JR and Maryland.
Mail us a snowball or something. Some dry
I think
ice
he
around
said
it.
they got 29 inches.
Holy smokes. Wow.
Yeah.
You guys could have used that at your ski place up here.
And just, JR, don't shovel in the morning. They say that's your blood's thicker in the morning and you can get a heart attack shoveling all that heavy snow. So just let it sit there. Be safe.
Or pay some kid to do it.
Pay some kid to do it. I like that. I like that.
His heart can go out.
All right. So, inspiration from artists, some of your favorites.
Actually, if anybody's been to the Sandpoint Festival, I have to say, as far as the people they book there, that has expanded my knowledge of people that I loved. I've gone to see performances there and not realized that some of my favorite childhood songs were written by, like, Kenny Loggins, you know? And so I really like, if you just look at the list of who they booked recently, that's kind of my who's who. Like, I think they booked Johnny Cash back in the day. A more recent artist is Ryan Adams, not to be confused with Canadian.
Bryan Adams.
Yeah, and he's phenomenal. I've listened to all his records. I have it all on vinyl. And he performed early on with Emmylou Harris, who's a huge inspiration for me because of her voice.
Yeah, she's
and
beautiful.
she manages to fit her vibrato in behind and around other people to support them without getting in the way. I think that's phenomenal. And then Norah Jones as well performed with Ryan Adams early as background vocals. And all of their producers. I produce music, so I'm a huge fan. I don't know, I just read a book by a guy named Glyn Johns, and if anybody's into recording or if their kids want to get into recording, you should read that book because Glyn Johns and his family have recorded, it turns out, all of my favorite albums. His son, Ethan, did one of Ryan Adams' albums that's my favorite record, and Ray LaMontagne and all these things, and it's just this lineage of philosophy, I think.
All right. So now, do you find, you're a young guy, do you find, when you're driving in your car, what are you listening to? Are you listening to these same bands, or do you have
radio?
Good answer!
To be perfectly honest, since I moved down here, we had really great, amazing community radio in Canada, but for some reason, I was bought into more of the mainstream radio thing. I wanted my bands to be on the mainstream radio. I manage bands as well, so I paid attention to that. As just part of my being aware all the time. So now that I've been down here and haven't been able to work, I listen to the radio purely just for fun. And I find myself listening to community radio. And there's a station, KPND. It's pretty good out of Spokane. I really like that.
All right. So you want to play one more for us?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's keep you going. We're really enjoying
You guys
this.
like some blues?
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
This is essentially all I really want to play is the blues, but other things come out of me, you know?
All right.
Oh, you can drag me from the ocean, but I'll find my way back. So it sails over those misty mountain waves of rain, through the world and back again. Or you can keep me from my dreams. I'll just make me some more. You can keep me from the oceans. Lord, I'll rally a storm. Let it flow, let it flow. Let that river grow. Pray that it rains, rains, rains. And I'll ride that river back again. Oh, I'll ride that river back again. Whoa, mighty river. Won't you take me for a ride? I've been clawing at your shorelines, tooth and nail trying to find. Let it flow, let it flow. Let that river grow. Pray that it rains, rains, rains. I'll ride that river back again. Oh, I'll ride that river back again. Oh, you can disrespect the ocean, disrespect the notion of time, but I float between what's solid, baby. Can keep a hold on what's mine. Let it flow, let it flow. Let that river grow. Pray that it rains, rains, rains. Or ride that river back again. Oh, I'll ride that river back again.
All right. Once again, Kevin Dorin. Very nice, Kevin. You know, one thing that I'm really enjoying about your music is you add a new freshness to the blues. That's what I'm getting out of it. I don't know if Gina would agree with that, but
I'm going to quote that on my website.
It's very, very good. You do. You add a new freshness to it. It's you know, I don't want to say, it's probably the wrong word, but feels very mainstream. Where I've noticed this thing in pop music lately, and we play a lot of it, we kind of stay away from, because, you know, a lot of Chewelah is an older demographic. So we play some music, you know, during the daytime that we play a wide mix, and we hope that the businesses will play it, and it's kind of our daytime mix. And we'll mix in new stuff with it too, but I tend to pick the stuff. There's a big wave in pop music now that's like folk pop. And that's the best way you know, like Life of Dylan and you know, Walk Off the Earth and stuff. It's the stuff with great harmonies, very upbeat, very happy, very feel-good music. And there's a big wave of it. There's tons of bands coming out doing that type of music. And I can picture what you're doing, too, being very mainstream and just this freshness to it that's really unique. And I'm going to say it right now, Kevin.
I hope so. My wife wants a new car, so.
All right. America, I'm going to say this right now, America is very lucky to have Kevin Dorin.
Thank you very much.
I would agree. Definitely agree there.
Yeah, very, very nice. So I always like to ask these kind of questions because they can be fun. Is best gig you ever played?
Nanaimo, British Columbia, with my band Bigger Fish Than Guns.
All right.
Nanaimo?
Nanaimo. It's on Vancouver Island. It's gorgeous. It's just surrounded by these gigantic trees. And it's a university town, and we showed up, and I booked the gig. I got an advance because we'd never played there before, and I guess nobody really gets advances there, so the other bands were impressed. And we got there, and there was nobody there at this club when we first showed up. It was a hotel bar thing, and it had a PA system from the 40s. Like, it's an exaggeration, but it's close. It sounded like we were basically singing through AM radio, you know? Mm-hmm. And we had the most fun, and there was a stripper pole in the middle of it, and it was just obscure. And then we ended up at a hotel where nobody was there except for us, and we just had a serious adventure. Yeah, I'll cut it off there. It gets weird after that. So.
Worst gig you ever played?
Worst gig I ever played. We toured all the way across Halifax with this band, Sydney York, that I love. I just was a supporting guitarist. And that was supposed to be a really big musical city. I'd never been there before in Canada. It's on the east coast of Canada. And it's a beautiful, gorgeous city. And everywhere we went all day long, people were playing live music at all the bars. And they were, you know, packed bars. And we get there, not a single soul in the bar. So we played in this long, cavernous bar to ourselves. And even the bartender left. She came back, but still, it was one of those moments where you had to really figure out, like, this is what I want to do. And it shows you what's going on there. It's the people who don't want to do it. get really sad, and the people who do want to do it use it as like the best jam session you've ever had.
Yeah.
That's tough when you have, and I'm sorry, we forgot to turn off the answer machine this morning. And whoever's calling, they weren't listening to the radio. Shame on them.
Yeah.
All right.
Apparently.
All right. And if you are listening to the radio, would you please hang up the phone? Okay. All right. That's tough when you don't have a crowd to play to, and then apparently you got booked at the worst bar in town because there was music everywhere. And I always, that's one of my biggest fears. Like the past 2 mini concerts we did, Gene can vouch for this. I'm sweating bullets. I'm so worried. I want the tickets to sell, and I'm so worried that they're not, and we're not going to have a crowd. And I'm worried for the musicians because I've talked these people into coming and helping the community radio station and doing a fundraiser for us and playing for free. And if they have to come do it with nobody here, that's just horrible for me. Wow, they're just not giving up. So Gene, you get to ask him a couple questions. I'm going to go shut that off.
Alrighty. So, what was your beginning inspiration? At the very beginning, what made you want to get into music?
Oh man, I questioning whether I should say this out loud. Yeah, I guess Dave Matthews first was a really big, and Ben Harper as songwriters. I was very lucky that I got to learn drums from a studio drummer when I was only 12 or 13 years old, and he didn't take students as young as me, but he was teaching my brother. And my jazz high or junior high, middle school, you call it down here, jazz teacher, he had advised me to this drum teacher as well. So I learned the basics about groove. I learned what I believe is the essence of my music, which is rhythm and timing, because I don't have a huge vocal range or anything. And so I try and move people with beginnings and stops because that's what inspired me. And Dave Matthews did that in his songwriting in a more mainstream popular way. And then I saw John Mayer live, and the antithesis of him was very interesting for me because he's a bit of a weirdo, if you really follow him. He's an obscure guy in many ways, and I think sometimes he's joking, he's making a joke on pop culture, but at the same time I went and saw him, and I'd never seen anyone perform music like that before. Like I'd seen Bob Dylan's band and Eric Clapton. And Eric Clapton was the only person I thought, nobody in my generation could play like that. And then I saw John Mayer, and it blew my mind. And I researched his band, and his bass player is a guy named Pino Palladino, who's one of the best bass players to have ever lived. And his drummer and producer on many of his records is Steve Jordan. And I got to see them live. And Steve Jordan played a drum loop for about 10 minutes. And the whole audience went, "What are you doing?" And after about, 5 minutes in, everybody figured it out, and they went, "That's not a machine. That's a human." And it blew their minds. And that's the kind of things that I like to share musically is concepts like that are so simple. And that's why I love the blues is they're full of them.
And I've heard that about John Mayer, that you need to see him live. I kind of find his music that makes it on the radio very plain milquetoast. It's not very it's what I when we have some John Mayer on the radio, but I pretty much consider it filler. But I've heard he's one of those people that you need to see live because there's some real art going on there.
I think he's played up the songs to the radio so he can get an opportunity to do whatever he wants, which I think takes a certain amount of humility too, which is interesting.
Yeah. Sacrifice or
sacrifice. Yeah.
So what about your voice? Did you take singing lessons? How did you? Is it just a self-taught?
I was always an introvert about singing. When I was younger, I was always in musical classes. It was very rhythmic, but because of moving schools and stuff, when I was younger, I never really got into the in crowd, which is what you had to be in music classes when you were younger, to get to do all the special music clubs and be in the choir and stuff. At least where I went to school.
You didn't get into the Glee
I didn't get
club.
into the Glee club. The Glee club, yeah. I was never invited. I could hit stuff, But so, anyways, I think sort of keeping it to myself until I was 12 or 13 had a big thing to deal with it, and then American Idol was hilarious. When American Idol came on, I watched a lot of these people, and I was like, man, I sing in the shower, and your parents need to either tell you you're not very good or get you some lessons before they send you to audition, I think I can do this.
You're on national TV, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. You want to play us another one?
Yeah, sure.
Are you prepared? I think I said 3 songs, but if we're not putting you on the spot, you're doing so well and we're enjoying it so much. I want to hear one more.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
I'll treat you guys to something I've never played before.
All right. Once again, Kevin Dorin.
Don't push me down, I'll get back up. A little stronger this time. The only enemy I can ever find is in my mind. You are just another challenger, another imposter. To tell the truth, there is no you. Ooh. I humor you, a little death to make me feel alive. So wake me up, clawing back into the light. I'm slipping down, I cannot hold on to what isn't whole. Don't you push me around, 'cause I'll get back up a little stronger with love. Don't push me down, I'll get back up. I'm breaking, then rebuild anew. Better fall, not relenting from the truth. Oh, I am weak, but I have strength to be stronger. I cannot hold on to this lie much longer. Whoa. I humor you, a little death to make me feel alive. So wake me up, clawing back into the light. I'm slipping down, I cannot hold on to what isn't told. Don't you push me around, 'cause I'll get back up a little stronger with love. Oh, lies are the cancer eating all your answers, sitting where your questions should be sitting, taking time and space and spitting, living in the past that ain't living. If only I can cure myself from my own misgiving. If only I can cure myself from my own misgivings. I humor you, a little death to make me feel alive. So wake me up, clawing back into the light. I'm slipping down, I cannot hold on to what isn't whole. Don't you push me around, 'cause I'll get back up a little stronger with love. Stronger with love.
Wow, wow. All right, big round of applause, Kevin Dorin.
I think that one's my favorite.
Good to know.
I don't know.
I was like, wow, I really like that one.
I think I have a new favorite in-studio performance, so I'm going to listen to over and over and over again. So we're getting quite a collection of these, and it just never seems to amaze me the talent that is willing to drive to Chewelah and play for us. So thank you very much, Kevin.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
All right.
Yeah. Well, we even got a message from one of our listeners right now. And he says, it's Dean. He says, fantastic show this morning with Kevin Dorin. Please bring him back for a concert.
All right, you're on the list, buddy. Yes. Very, very nice. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us. And welcome to America. Glad you got your green card. All right, and I bet you a lot of other people are like, woo, green card.
Yeah, it's a big thing, but it was kind of something I had to do because I met this woman that was part of me as soon as I met her, and It probably would have been easier to stay in Canada, but it was definitely worth it.
All right. So share, once again, I know there's some people listening that are going to want to find out more about you and listen to more of your music. So tell us places we can find you online.
You can go to, you can search Kevin Dorin, Dorin, and I have a Bandcamp website with an album you can listen to for free. I have Reverb Nation with some blues recordings. But I also have a production company, and I do music lessons. I teach people about analog recording that are in my generation because I'm only 28.
I was going to ask you about that. That was one of my questions, and it slipped my mind. What favorite digital, analog?
It's really hard to say because I love to listen on old reel-to-reels. If I'm going to make a demo of a song, I do it on like a 60s Akai or Sony reel-to-reel that I got in a garage sale somewhere around here, you know? And to me, the way that plays back, it plays back like someone is in the room with you. And it's what I believe is called psychoacoustics. It's the feeling of music and the interpretation of music, not necessarily through just your ears. And I get more of that through an analog playback. But music is the best thing in my life, so I try to listen to it and record in every way possible. I have a very high-end digital recording system, but I strive with that to share to the masses with the digital. I think that's the reason for it nowadays. If you really want to enjoy my music particularly, I would advise you to come over to my house and I'll make you a recording.
All right. Be careful with that, though.
Get
a stalker or something. All right. Thank you very much, Kevin. We really appreciate coming in and taking the drive over to Chewelah this morning. Were the roads slick coming over on too?
Actually, not bad until you went through the park, and then luckily I brought my four-wheel drive.
All right. Big round of applause once again, Kevin Dorin.